Well, Mark, after the Charlton game, you mentioned how it was a different challenge for your players to have that sort of atmosphere, that sort of crowd. Good experience, though, ahead of this one, where clearly you're going to be taking it up another notch.
Yeah, and clearly above anything we're going to face in the league this year. So, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, that's a major part of the experience to look forward to for all of us. Incredible numbers, no real surprise. You know how well supported Newcastle are, and the fact that they're in a real positive moment as a club after the takeover and with the excitement of the transfer window. I think it leads to us walking into an arena that will hopefully bring the best out of us and really inspire us to give a good performance, because we know we'll need to be at the very top of our game to be competitive against them. But that's something to look forward to. It's games like this that we've worked really hard for, and we've found ourselves this year often in this position of underdog. We know that that's the case, but that tag of confident underdog that we've used a lot is one that we have to try and take to St James's this weekend.
You mentioned with one of the earlier rounds about once you get to round 3, it's about the money and the memories. Clearly, the money situation is looking after itself with the sellout crowd. How do you go about making sure that it's a day of good memories?
Well, I think there's a few things with that. I think supporters will have a good day and enjoy the whole experience and love the fact that we're a team that are giving them plenty of these in this recent period of time. So I think that's important for supporters. And I guess from our perspective, the day itself looks after, the occasion itself, if you like, looks after the fact that it's a memorable game for us. You can think about big games in the past. You only have to look back a few years to the Man United game, and that's an occasion that lives long in the memory for all the players and staff that are involved, as well as the supporters. But you just want to make sure it's a positive memory as well, and a memory for all the right reasons. I guess the way we do that is by look after the game, try and ignore everything that's around the pitch and just get on with the 11v11 that is there. Try and be competitive in a game that we know is a challenging one for us. But it's a game that gives you an opportunity to play in an arena, play on a stage that you're not used to, and therefore there's nothing to fear really with that, other than the fact that you just got to go and give the best shot of yourselves and make sure that we give a performance that is reflective of the team that we are.
As with so many clubs, Newcastle have been dealing with injuries. They've been dealing with COVID as well. Have you got a sense of how they'll approach it? I guess it could really vary from at one end, they really want to make a mark and gain some momentum and really go at it, or they could think we've got key games coming up, we'll mix things up a bit. Have you got any sense of what you think might happen?
No, not really. I mean, I think it's a really difficult one to call. I said in recent weeks, it's hard to know where anyone's going to go with their team at the moment. And obviously, when you talk about a different competition, that changes the mindset as well. We don't know to what extent injuries and COVID has taken their toll. We don't know whether they will see this as an opportunity to play their team, get a result and prepare for the upcoming Premier League games, or that they haven't quite got a full squad available. So without getting too bogged down in that, I think two things: you have to prepare for the best version of Newcastle and their top team, and you have to prepare ourselves to give the best level we can with what we've got available. So that is what the mindset is going into the game. Can we find a top level, because we'll have to be competitive in the game and deal with whatever comes up in the game from their side.
Yeah, so you have the strongest Newcastle team, if you like, as your starting point. How much time do you then spend on the other permutations? Is it a case of you try and lay all of that beforehand, or will it be a case of you have it in the back of your mind and when you see the team sheet, you adjust accordingly?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, you have a little bit of knowledge and understanding. You watch a few players, you have a knowledge of a few and the way they play, but you can't get bogged down in it too much. Game of football, it's us against them. We know what we are and we know who we've got available. So for us, it's about adjusting on the day, as you always have to in the game, in terms of changes the opposition might make or unexpected things that can crop up prior to or during the game. And we've just got to make sure that we physically and mentally prepare ourselves for what is going to be a brilliant occasion and atmosphere, and make sure that in that we don't shy away from doing what we're good at. And I think that's the main priority. And if you get bogged down in too much else, you forget the fact that you're preparing for a game like we have done already 30 times this year and have to continue doing. So that's our approach to it. Humble as ever, knowing how hard it's going to be and how well we'll have to play to be a competitive team in the game, but confident enough to think, go on then, let's go and show what we can do.
Yeah, and it's a funny one in the sense that perhaps prior to the Manchester United game for Newcastle the other day. They'd had some difficult performances and there were plenty of question marks. I know they've had a gap now with their COVID break, but that Man United game potentially could be a bit of a watershed for them. They looked very competitive. They looked as though they were beginning to develop a bit more of an Eddie Howe identity.
Yeah, maybe, but you can't look too much into it. They're playing against a Man United team that are in a bit of a transition moment themselves, and then they get judged against Man City and Liverpool in the previous 2 games. So that's not very fair either. So they're a Premier League team with Premier League players, trying to bring in players to even push the bar even higher. We recognise the level and the difference in the level, but we're certainly not experts on the Premier League and shouldn't pretend to be. We just know we're playing against a team that are full of players that have played more experienced games and at a higher level than many of us have, and it's a new experience for all of us. So yeah, don't get wrapped up in the badge, don't get wrapped up in everything else. Just go and play a game, go and play with a bit of freedom to express ourselves and show what we can do, and see how it goes, and try and make it a successful day for us. We know there's absolutely zero expectation on us in terms of the outcome of the game, and that's fine. We just want to go and make sure it's a memorable day for the right reasons. And look, sometime this weekend, there'll be an upset in the competition, because there always is. And we'd love to be it, of course, but at the same time, we know that that's a difficult task. And in the end, we want to go and play in an arena that inspires us to get there more often, that shows an ambition and gives us hunger to keep improving. And that gives us an idea of, right, how good is the level? How far away from that are we individually, team, collectively? That's the challenge and the nice thing about these games. It takes away the pressure on the outcome that sometimes you have, and that's a game to be enjoyed.
Whether he starts or not at the weekend, does Wes have a big role to play? You talk about the experience and the obvious difference between playing in the Premier League and playing at League One. Wes knows all about that gap. Is that useful?
Yeah, you hope so. You hope that players like that, their experience, there's very few of us that have played in that kind of arena and atmosphere. And so when you've got players that are courageous enough to take the ball and to play without any fear in that sense, that's what we sort of want from everybody. I think as a team this year, we've shown an ability to improve in that sense. And this is, as you said earlier on, a step up in terms of quality of opposition and atmosphere. But in the end, you just want to see that same process going through. And players like Wes can really help that, because they've been there and done it and thrive off those big occasions. And we hope that can be the case again this weekend. With
the COVID, are you all okay after the Portsmouth game? Has it remained on an even keel?
Yeah, but 24 hours is a long time at the minute. So we're okay right now. We've got people back on the grass. If we can get on it this morning, it's frozen. So we need to get out and train today, because we're traveling tomorrow. So we're hoping the sun comes up to get us out there. But other than the fact that people have missed a few sessions, which made the performance probably even more remarkable against Portsmouth, what the players were able to give. We've had to try and patch a few up since then, because there's some tired bodies, and we need a little bit of a working day today to try and catch people up. And those that have missed quite a few sessions have had quite a few now. So look, we're a little bit light on numbers in the overall sense that I think you can have a 20-man squad in the FA Cup. Well, we certainly won't have one, but in that sense, we'll do the best we can with what we've got. We'll go and give the best account of ourselves, as we always do. And as I've said a number of times, I think it's a game to relish and to enjoy.
Just to double check on Sam Smith and his red card, am I right in saying he is suspended? If it had been an accumulation of bookings, he would have been able to play, but because it's a red, he's out?
Yeah, one game suspension. So he misses this one, and then he'll be available for Papa John's Tuesday.
So a chance for, well, I guess if you were to keep a similar shape, the players will be looking to get in. Harvey Nibbs, Jack Lancaster. Actually, you mentioned after the Portsmouth game that Jack's been going really well. Yeah, really well. And I think the break from fixtures has probably benefited him more than anyone, because he goes now into a period of games that I'm sure he'll play a part on Saturday. I'm sure he'll play a part on Tuesday. And he goes into that with a really good run of training behind him, which is the first time he's had that for a while. So yeah, he's training really well. We know we've got a good player in our hands there, and in many respects, we hope he can turn out to be like a new signing in the second half of the season. Cool, that's great for me.
Mark, on Sam Smith's suspension, firstly, how disappointing is that for him to miss out on such an occasion based on a red card?
I don't know. You'll have to ask him. I prefer it to be this game than a league game, and I'm sure he would as well. So yeah, big occasions you want to play in as a player, but we know where the bread and butter is for us. This is a bonus competition that we play in for all the reasons that we've spoken about. And probably the most frustrating thing is no one thinks it was probably a red card. So that is where the frustration lies more than anything. But yeah, he misses out on this one. But he's been doing well for us, so we'll get him back in the team next week and hopefully see the benefit of that. And any disappointment that he has, and we obviously have as a team, not having him is just got to be dealt with, because the next game comes quite quickly, and he's got a major part to play in those ones that are coming up after this weekend.
On the fans, you've obviously got, it's expected to be around 5,000 travelling up to Newcastle at the weekend. How impressed are you by the level of backing that they've shown by turning out in such numbers?
Well, I'm not surprised, really. I think we took major numbers up to Man United. You'd expect, to be honest, I'd be disappointed if there wasn't a big numbers, because these are the moments that people should come and get behind and really enjoy. And whilst you'll get some of the loyal fans that come everywhere, you'll also get some people looking to enjoy a weekend that don't often come but make the most of it, and good on them. Our task in the long term is to convince people to come more often. We know to be more sustainable, more competitive, we've got to nudge up our average crowds and keep encouraging people. So any moment we get to show people what we can do and to play in these big occasions and get people behind us, the better. But I'm sure, despite being right up in the gods at the weekend, I'm sure they'll love it. I'm sure they'll have a great weekend, and they'll support the team from start to finish, because that's what they've done. They were outstanding against Portsmouth on Monday, and gave us a real backing when we needed it in the second half. And that's what we'll need. And hopefully they get a day that's memorable for all the right reasons. You don't expect these occasions very often as a Cambridge fan, so you have to enjoy them when they come around. What part do you think they can play on Saturday? Well, the stadium will be incredible. I don't know if you've seen the atmosphere at St James's in recent weeks since the takeover. It's been incredible. So the fact that it's a sellout crowd, they'll do well to outsing the home crowd, but I'm sure they'll just contribute to an overall brilliant atmosphere. So yeah, I mean, if we can hear them above the Newcastle fans, they have done well. All the Newcastle fans are fairly quiet, which won't be the case. So I think they'll contribute to a brilliant atmosphere on the day. Hopefully we can give them a performance that has moments in it that they can really enjoy and get behind the team, and hopefully we can create one or two moments that live long in their memory for them. How important is it to not make it to be about attack versus defence on Saturday? How important is it to have those moments where you can sustain your own attacks? Yeah, same as every game, really. You want to try and have a balance of control in the game as much as you can. When you're with the ball, you want to make it count and try and stay on the ball for long periods. And when you're without the ball, you want to limit the chances that they have. So in many respects, the game's no different to anyone else. I know it's very easy for everyone to be convinced that this is a completely different thing. And in many ways it is, but by the same token, it's 22 players on the pitch trying to do what they normally do. From a financial perspective as well, how much does this day impact the club, do you think? Not massively. I mean, it's obviously a bonus game in the fact that we didn't expect it, but with no TV coverage and cheap ticket prices, it's no more than a sellout home game. So it's nice. Don't get me wrong, it's in addition to the budget, but it's not the life-changing transformational amount that it might have been. So this one goes in the line of, yeah, adds to the club in terms of finances, but actually, when you get away from that, it's less about that, this game. It's more about the memory and the opportunities and the profile that the club can get from it. So that's where we go with this one. And it's a really good, exciting day for everybody to look forward to. Just finally from me, did everyone come out of Monday okay injury-wise? They did, yes. We've had everybody training in the last couple of days. So touch wood, that remains the same. Great. Cheers, Mark.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah. Hi, Matt. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Eddie Howe has arguably overseen one of the greatest transformations of a club in the 21st century in terms of going up through the footballing pyramid. And earlier you spoke about how you hope your players will sort of see this level and want to try and get as close to it as possible. As a young manager yourself, sort of what are you hoping? Are you hoping to speak to Eddie Howe, or do you look up to Eddie Howe in terms of what he's achieved so far? Are you seeing it very much as going in as equals on Saturday?
Well, we're certainly not equals. That's for sure. There's not much I can teach him, and I'm sure there's plenty I can learn off of him. So yeah, normally you get some time with opposition staff. COVID's changed things a little bit at the moment. It's been more difficult to do that, but hopefully get some time with him after the game at some point, just to pick his brains. But the transformation of a club he inherited at Bournemouth at the bottom of League Two to get to the Premier League is a fairly unique story. I'm not sure it will be repeated. Incredible progress in a relatively short period of time at the club, and he's certainly a younger coach that players and coaches like myself can look up to and think, blimey, what a progression that is. He finds himself now with a brilliant job at a brilliant club, well deserved, and an excellent reputation. So not somebody that I know or have come across in the past, but certainly someone I'm looking forward to meeting at the weekend and going toe to toe with on the touchline.